We have Larry Gulko here today, who is going to give us an immersive brand building thought leadership experience. This session will go until about 11:30, leaving some time for a question and answer session, which is very, very important at the end. This one-of-a-kind brand building thought leadership program will start with a keynote titled Write the Book You Want to Read, 7 Game-Changing Strategies to Drive Brand Performance, Member Loyalty, and Business Growth to the Next Level. So again, welcome Gary Gulko. Thank you for being here today. And it's all yours, Larry. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beth. Thanks for the invite. And it's nice to be here. As some of you know me personally, and I've been involved with CMAA for about 15 years. So it's nice to see, I know some of my colleagues and friends are on the program, so I appreciate it. So what I want to do today is talk about brand building, and it's really like a journey I want to take you on, because what we're going to talk about today has nothing to do with budget. It has to do with how you take a look at your brand, it has to do with taking a fresh look, and also developing a brand voice. Because people tell me over the years, you know, as a brand strategist or a growth advisor, I don't have the budget so-and-so has. But it's nothing to do with budget at all. It has to do with how you really look at your brand and how you want to be, you know, what do you want to be famous for? And so to start off, before I start the presentation, I want to just share with you some of my impressions of what's happening in the landscape as far as brand building. You know, first of all, I always tell people that, you know, a great brand, a successful brand is not the result of building a great marketing campaign. So I'm really building a great business story. Like, what's the story you want to tell about your club or your brand? Second thing is, a lot of brands out there either lose their focus or don't have a focus. And when you don't have a focus, you're really dead in the water. You lose your focus, you basically dilute the power of your brand, and you're known to many people for very little. And a lot of brands today, unfortunately, don't really deliver what I call a remarkable customer experience, a remarkable member experience, because anybody can do good or better. So I want to just kind of take you through a few things today. And that I think I have 7 different strategies that I think that, again, just conceptually, when I talk about them, think about how they're going to apply to your club or your organization, because it all makes sense. And again, I can't emphasize enough, it's all about conceptually of how we look at our brand. So as Beth said, the title to my presentation early on is Write the Book You Want to Read, 7 game-changing strategies, take your brand to the next level. And the next level is different for every one of you. So I want to start off with a quote that it's a mantra that I've lived by, and I really believe in some way that Ralph Waldo Emerson back in 1850, he created the term brand marketing, because Ralph always said, do not go where the path may lead, go instead there's no path and leave a trail. And isn't that really what brand's all about? We can either be a Me Too following brand, what I call a sea of sameness, and everybody goes left. But when people go left, I want you to go right. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you're not a brand, or you're not a name brand, you're a brand name. And it's a real big distinction. A name brand is a brand that's a go-to brand, an aspirational brand. People want to buy you, people want to join, people want to work for you, people want to write about you. But a brand name, you file it with the government and you're all done. So again, do not go where the path may lead. Go instead there's no path and leave a trail. That's the way you win, if you want to call it, in this marketing war. So the first topic I want to talk about, mention, is focus. You have to focus your brand and specialize and be the go-to brand either in your market or in your category. Because if you don't focus your brand to really be known for something really special, you're really going to lose. As I want to show you an illustration, because a lot of things I do are illustrative of my concepts. So I want to show you one illustration initially. First of all is Q-tip. If I had the opportunity to create a brand that's going to emulate a great brand out there that's singular, that's known for one thing only, it'd be the Q-tip. Because I'm sure a lot of you, your members don't come to you and say, hey, we're out of cotton swabs. They say we're out of Q-tips. This photo was taken, I did at my Brain Dead Retreat program at St. Andrews about a year and a half ago. And then when I was in the locker room, I saw this container of Q-tips. I said, this is perfect. It's exactly what we're talking about during our one-day program today. A Q-tip, again, they're singular. They're known for one thing. They're not into baby wipes. They're not into shampoos. They're not into conditioners, nothing else. They have one product, that's singular. And that's why they've been successful for 100 years. And they've been acquired twice since then as well. So if I look at a brand saying, you know, what brand really should we really emulate? If you can be the Q-tip in your category, you are going to win. So the first illustration I want to show you about the importance of being a specialist, not a generalist. I believe, again, in my opinion, that specialists win, generalists lose. And when department stores, as you know, they're going out of business left and right today, they're generalists. And department stores really, what department stores did wrong was trivial to what the competition did right. Because every department in a department store became a well-known global specialized brand known for something very unique, a value proposition unlike any other in the category. So I just want to share with you my thought process. The first one's Barnes and Noble. Years ago, there was a book department and like a Macy's, right? And they grew out of the book department and became known as Barnes and Noble. Then there was a little bedding department. They had a few pillows, a few sheets, a few other things for the bedroom. And which brand did they become? Bed Bath & Beyond. The next one was the makeup department. There was a makeup department that might have had 3 or 4 aisles of, Clinique, whatever it might be. And then what brand was born out of the makeup department in department stores was Sephora. And then housewares became Crate and Barrel. Became Crate and Barrel. And then the lingerie department, we all know, where you had a very small department of lingerie for women, became Victoria's Secret. Consumer electronics became Best Buy. Sporting goods became Dick's. And then the little blender department that might have 3 or 4 blenders and a few other things for your kitchen counter became Williams-Sonoma. So it's important to see here that, again, the big picture is when you generalize with your club brand and you want to be known to everything, everybody, you're known for nothing to many people. So what can you do with your brand to be known as these 8 brands I just showed you? What can you do to be singular? What can you do to specialize in something so people perceive there's no brand quite like yours in the market or the space that you work in or you occupy? Okay. The second topic I want to talk about is the concept is really powerful, being first in the mind. First in the mind wins. So take a deep dive and say to yourself, what are we really selling? Now, this is a really powerful concept because when you look at what you're really selling, the concept of being first is huge. You don't have to be first to be the first to do it, but the first to say it. I like always giving illustrations because it resonates and we have a meaningful conversation. So the first computer in the world was not invented by IBM, but IBM positioned themselves as the first computer. And think of it, for example, if I ask you who is the #1 car rental company in the country, the first answer usually is Hertz. The second is usually Avis. Well, for I think 75 years, Avis, we try harder. And then 3, 4, 5, it could be Alamo, it could be Budget, it could be whatever. But the thing is, we don't care who's second, third, or fourth. We don't care about who's #1. And if I ask you also, what's the tallest mountain in the world? Most everybody says Mount Everest. And then some say Kilimanjaro. And some say maybe K2, whatever. But again, the reason we don't know about number 2, 3, or 4, because honestly, we don't care. We really don't care who's second, third, or fourth. So what can you do to be the first in the mind? And many times what we say is more important than what we do. Look for example, at some other first. Motorola created the first cell phone. How many of you listening today in the program have a Motorola phone? Or a Nokia phone, for that matter of fact? We don't. So the first in the mind, it's all psychology. We have to occupy the first position in the minds of the consumer in order to really win. Okay. And if I ask you also, if you all close your eyes right now, and I ask you, if you can remember the first person that you kissed, maybe you were 12 years old, maybe you were 14 years old, it doesn't even matter to me, right? If you can remember who it was and where it took place, that is huge, right? But if I ask you now, who's the second person you kissed, where it was, who he or she was, it's very hard to remember. I myself personally can't. I remember the first girl I kissed. I remember her name was Marlene. And I remember she was around 12 or 13 years old. I kissed her on her cheek. And then her parents drove up in the driveway. And I ran through the woods like hell. I was scared out of my mind. And that was the end of that story. The thing is, I remember Marlene. I'm not saying this because I'm giving the presentation today. I have no idea who the second girl was I kissed in my life. I have no idea. I can't even remember it, So again, I keep saying this because being the first is important. You might say other clubs do things that you're doing too, but if no other club in the area has owned a rung in the ladder and owned the first in the minds of the consumer or the member, a potential member, you have an opportunity to own it. And once you own a first in the mind, it's very hard or impossible for a competitor to dislodge it. Once you own it, you own it. Okay, so I want to give you some more illustrations about the first, okay, what they're really selling. What are these brands really selling? So if I show you, for example, Harley Davidson, I don't know, Beth, can people talk to me right now? Can anybody yell out to me, what is Harley Davidson selling? Or are we kind of muted?
They'll need to unmute themselves to be able to be heard.
Okay, if you want to shout out what Harley's saying.
Motorcycle.
No, okay. Okay, Harley is selling motorcycles. I'm sorry, Harley is making motorcycles, but what are they really selling that emotionally connects with the consumer? Because everybody sells motorcycles, right?
True.
But so what is Harley really selling that emotionally connects with the consumer?
Badass lifestyle.
A little further. Okay, Harley is selling freedom. Harley decided years ago when I said consult with them, they're in the freedom business. And I know a few of you on the program today, I know you have cycles, but I'm not a cyclist, I'm not a biker, but I can imagine, just like I was a boater for many years, when you're out in those open roads and you're with a Harley, there's a psychological freedom that emulates, that reflects in your mind, right? And therefore, once Harley decided their brand voice is freedom, and they then create a website and a brand voice and all the communications that emulates freedom, a competitor cannot say, we own freedom, because Harley was the first to own freedom. And everything you see in their communications, social media, website, POP, store design, it all reflects a feeling of freedom. And that's huge. Okay, the next one, FedEx. What does FedEx own? Anybody want to yell it out?
Fast.
But so is the post office, they're fast. What else besides fast? What does FedEx own? Well, they own overnight. But again, as I said earlier, FedEx was not the first company to create overnight. Emery Air Freight was. But FedEx decided to position themselves as the first in the mind. So when they said overnight positively by 11 in the morning, the post office can't do that. They can't promote it. No, neither can UPS or anybody else. So again, once you put a stake in the ground and you really do a deep dive and a soul search as far as what you want to own, you own it until you give it up. Okay. The next one is BMW. What does BMW own? Anybody want to take a shot?
You have arrived.
I'm sorry?
You have arrived. You made it.
You made it? Okay. You know, someone told me Range Rovers that someone told me a while ago that if you're a Range Rover owner, it means you're insecure, but that status symbol, that logo said you made it as well. Okay, besides you made it, how about another thought as far as what does BMW own? All right, the ultimate driving machine. Now again, BMW, you can't say they're selling luxury. Cadillac sells luxury, Lexus sells luxury, Rolls-Royce sells luxury. You know, all the cars in your parking lot from your members, there are a lot of luxury cars there. So they're not selling luxury. BMW is selling a different driving experience. Some say it's harder, some say it's not. You know, my daughter a little while ago, she had a chance between getting an Audi or BMW. She chose a BMW because she liked the drive. The Audi was a little more comfortable, but she liked the drive. I remember she said, Dad, I love coming off the highway on the ramp. This BMW, it hugs the ramp. I said, fine. Again, nothing against Audi, but if you want this experience that they claim and they deliver on their brand promise for many, many, many decades, then BMW is the ultimate driving machine. And again, the first in the mind wins. Nobody else can claim that. Hey, you're all familiar with the company Life is Good. What are they selling? I'm gonna give it a shot. And they're not selling T-shirts. T-shirts are an enabler. T-shirts are a vehicle to communicate what they're selling. What is Life is Good selling? Anybody have a shot? All right. They're selling optimism and good vibes. They started 25 years ago. It's all about feeling good, being optimistic, positivity. That's all they do. They're not selling mugs. They're not selling T-shirts. They're not selling tire covers, but they're selling optimism and good vibes. And everything they do is an enabler. All the products they sell reflect and embody that feeling of optimism and good vibe. So you see where I'm coming from? You got to say to yourself, your club, and later on someone's going to say to me, well, our club, we sell lifestyle, but every catch club sells lifestyle. And every bank sells credit cards and bank accounts, and every law firm has bulleted information what they sell. So you're selling something much more grand, so much more important that really connects with your consumer or the member that you want to touch. Fresh Express. Today, we are living in an on-the-go society. This is a great case history, Fresh Express. As you know, I'll tell you, what Fresh Express sells, they're selling ready-to-eat packaged salad. So Fresh Express, all it is a baggie, a Ziploc bag with lettuce, carrots, tomatoes in it. We consumers, I do the same thing. We pay $4.19 for a package of salad. You know why? Because we're so busy today. Okay, I say this facetiously. We're so busy that we don't have time to cut lettuce today. We have to buy it already pre-cut for $4.19. So talk about the value of an idea. They're the first to market. They're the first to bag it. Then comes along Del Monte, a huge giant, right? Well, Fresh Express was the first, and they own 68% of the market of ready-to-eat packaged salad. Then anybody in marketing would think, or anybody in business, well, Del Monte's going to come in, they're going to steal their lunch. Excuse the pun, right? Well, they didn't. Del Monte came in and only got 8% market share. Years later, Fresh Express, again, the first to the market, they invented a new category. They sold a Chiquita banana for less than $1 billion. And what it is, all it is just a Ziploc bag with salad. But we're so on the go today. I'll give another example. Dunkin' Brands, when I had a fireside chat with Dunkin', I do these fireside chats at the Harvard Business School. He was telling me that years ago, people showed up at a Dunkin' Brands or Dunkin' Donuts. They got a donut and coffee. They actually went in. They walked in the store. Then all of a sudden, they didn't have time to walk in. So they did one drive-through. Then they did 2 drive-throughs. And now the DD Perk app, you can type it in, and they'll come to your car, some of them, and they'll bring it out to you. So, I mean, we live in such an over-communicated society. We live on the go. We don't, especially millennials. Millennials don't have the patience on the fly. So what we're going to do today, more than ever before, is to design our programs, our offerings, our packaging, whatever we're doing to our club members that really are on the go, ready to go. People have no convenience. I mean, no patience at all. So I say to you, what words can your club own that if you own them, great. If you don't own them, what can you own that a competitor is not saying? So again, you might say to yourself, down the street, we have 4 clubs. They do what we do, and we all have the same thing. But if you can pick out one thing, whether it be family programs or youth golf or 9 and dine couples or whatever it might be, if you can pick 1 or 2 things that no one else is talking about, they're not yelling from the rooftop, you have an opportunity to own it. And as I said earlier on, once you own these words, it's very hard or impossible for a competitor to dislodge or steal it from you. Okay, talk about what words you want to own. For years, I used to talk about Heinz ketchup. Heinz had a campaign. You probably remember their TV spot. They had their campaign. And again, I'm not a singer. Anticipation is making you crazy. These are the good old days, right? Well, what was Heinz selling? They were selling the word slow, S-L-O-W. So we had a choice. Do we want the Heinz ketchup that comes out slow? It's thick, it's natural. Or do we want Hunt's that comes in a can that when you pour it, half the can is water. So we have a choice, right, as consumers. Do we want thick ketchup on our French fries? Or do we want our French fries initially garnished with water, and then out comes the tomato sauce, right? So, but you see what I'm saying? These words are so key as far as really owning something, because, it's just, I can't say it enough, but it's a powerful concept for owning something in the marketplace. Okay. The third idea I want to share with you is you have to dominate your product category. There is no substitute for innovation. You have to create what I call internal branding, your team members there at your club. You have to create a thought leadership culture that embraces bold and disruptive thinking. I do not want to hear any more people telling me that we think out of the box. That is a yawner. Thinking out of the box is a yawner. It's a 1990s term. Anybody can think out of the box. What does it mean? But you have to be disruptive. I mean, for example, like a friend of mine who founded Wheels Up, the private aviation company. Kenny disrupted the whole private aviation. In fact, he says he democratized it. Right. So you got to say to yourself, what category can we own? And also, leading brands lead, following brands follow. I want to give you two illustrations. Okay. McDonald's owns children's hamburgers. Wendy's owns adult hamburgers. Burger King is in the mushy middle. They own nothing. So the more Burger King nibbles away and says McDonald's is not, fresh or whatever they're going to say, whatever, if McDonald's reacts to Burger King, it fractures their leadership position. The best thing McDonald's can do is ignore Burger King. Yes, they do. So the more the following brands try to attack the leading brand, what does it do? It further positions the leading brand as the leading brand in the market. So the more a negative, a fractured brand goes after the leading brand, it helps the leading brand's posture or positioning even more effectively. I'll give you something else, another example. Again, today's all conceptual, right? I was consulting with the Girl Scouts of America. And about a year ago, you might have recalled that the Boy Scouts are now recruiting girls for the Boy Scouts. And about 3,000 girls signed up. I'm just telling you, if I had a daughter 10 years old now, my daughter would not be joining the Boy Scouts, period. Anyway, recently, the Boy Scouts just went bankrupt. So the CEO and the board said to me, Larry, what do we do? How do we respond to the Boy Scouts allegations that they're better than us? I said to them in New York, I said, no, that's the key word. You don't respond. The Boy Scouts are fractured. They're having problems. You don't want to respond to a fractured brand. You got $20 million from Raytheon. You're doing STEM. You're selling entrepreneurship. You're teaching all the girls about science, about technology. It's not like years ago. When my daughter was 10 years old, all she did in the Girl Scouts was made pot holders and made, I think, macaroni, and she froze the macaroni and she painted it and she made a little bracelet, right? Today, it's a whole different world. So the more, if the Girl Scouts responded to the Boy Scouts, it would have diluted their brand and it would have shown that they're fractured. It doesn't make sense. So what they did was they took my advice, they ignored the Boy Scouts. And in turn, the Boy Scouts went bankrupt and they're sucking wind now. But the best thing is when you're a leading brand, stay to your story, keep doing what you're doing, ignore your competition, ignore how they're nibbling away from you, because all we'll do is make you volatile. You have to stay strong, stay committed to your business story, and keep just moving forward. Okay? Again, if you ever respond to a negative or falling brand, you will crack your brand voice. Okay? So talking about boldness for marketing, I mentioned earlier, you don't have to be the first. Like, I'll give you an example. It's all about packaging and repositioning and being disruptive. Tide did not create detergent, but Tide did create a category which is on-the-go stain remover, and they have no competition. Purell did not create disinfectant, but they created the portable disinfectant machine. They were the first to win. The first in the mind wins. GoFundMe did not create fundraising, but they are the most trusted fundraising platform in the country today. They have raised collectively $50 billion. About 10,000 people a week start a GoFundMe program. And the amount of money that they've generated is amazing. Look at Open Table. Open Table did not create a restaurant reservations, but they created a concept with technology to make reservations online. And we go on and on and on. So again, I'm just reinstating, you don't have to be the first inventor, but how you look at something, how you package it, how you promote it, how you integrate it to be a first can be really quite powerful. Okay? So I tell people all the time also, don't try to be the best, just be the only, because anybody can do good or better or be the best. So I don't want you to tell me or tell your team members or your board or your other staff members, oh, we're the best, because the best doesn't win. It really doesn't. You got to be the only. What are you the only at? And this goes back to what are you really selling? But what are you the only at that makes you loud and proud? And when you're the only, you build reputational capital. And when you're the only at something and you build reputational capital, you really decrease your advertising and promotional costs because that word of mouth, and today more than ever before, with social media, with LinkedIn, people sharing information, whatever, that viral world will do a hell of a job for you. But just say to yourself, and again, I think mentioned earlier, do a deep dive within your internal organization and say to yourself, what are we the only at, or what can we be the only at? And then go for it. You have nothing to lose. Okay. Again, you don't want to be a commodity. When you're a brand, people buy because of value perceived. When you're a commodity, they buy for one thing alone, price. And unless you're Target or Walmart, I don't want to be in the price business. And neither do you. Okay? So you want to break through the marketing clutter, and you want to be known as an aspirational brand. And when I say aspirational brand, Jack Welch once told me when he was alive, I had the good fortune to know Jack. He always said, if you don't change the game's going to change you. And I want to share with you another concept about being aspirational. Nobody needs your club. Nobody needs me. Nobody needs CMAA. So even though in college they teach about consumer needs, nobody went to Steve Jobs and said, hey, Steve, I need a watch for my arm to walk around the street. Or Steve, I need this phone here so I can walk around the street talking to people. No one told me I needed it. He created a want. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, hold on. I hit something. Sorry about that. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. Where was it here? Sorry. Okay. You want to be a want, okay? And I'll give you some examples. Nobody needs a Rolex watch. People want it. And when they want something, we find the money for it. Nobody needs to spend, I'm just generalizing. Nobody needs to spend $100,000 to join the club, $105,000 to join a club, $195 to join a club. No one needs to do that. No one needs to buy a Ferrari. But we want it, we find, and we emotionally connect with it. We justify it. We feel we can't live without it. Like your club, we'll find the money to join your club because we want it, not need it. My wife does not need an Audi convertible. There are 5 train stations here locally. You go to Boston before COVID-19, that were 2 miles away. All she really needs is a bicycle, but she wanted the Audi, so she has it. Another concept also about wants and needs. We all have a budget for a car. Well, we have a certain budget, right? And we all have a budget for a house. And just think back, the last car or house that you bought. Did you stick to your budget? And the answer primarily is no. So let's say someone comes to your golf club community, whatever, and they see a home, they have a budget, they want to spend $750, whatever it might be, for a home there. And they fall in love with a home that's $875, has a view of the golf course or the lake or the water, has a better swimming pool. The village, the location it's in is better than the other one. If we really want it, then we can justify, well, we work hard, we spend other things, we deserve it, we find the money. Same thing with cars. We always have some kind of budget. I want to spend $50,000 for a car. And then we test drive 5 different brands, and it's a car that costs $62,500. We fall in love with it, we find the money. So I'm saying to you, for your clubs, you got to create a great brand story so people want your club, because you have to tell your people, nobody needs to join our club. Nobody needs to live in our community. They really don't need it. But we have to be an aspirational brand. People want to live here. The media want to write about us. People want to join. They want to bring guests. Outside organizations want to hold their golf tournaments here. It's all about want, not need. So keep looking under your umbrella, under your brand umbrella, and what elements of our brand can we create that we're a want, that people will find the money and will emotionally connect with them because they feel, again, there's no brand quite like ours in the space that we live in. Okay. The next tip I want to share with you is every idea has an expiration date. And so if you want to unlock the market, if you want to go for a different market demographic, or you want to go after different markets for maybe on Mondays, golf tournaments, different commercial organizations that you want to sponsor, you want to have sponsor their program at your club, whatever, then there's an expiration date, because you can't wait that long. If you wait that long and you try to cross every T, dot every I, somebody else locally will beat you to the punch. You have to take a risk. And so in doing that, this slide here says it all. I'll just read it to you. Mine to market in 3,000 days. We've repeatedly squashed the idea for almost 10 years, but now that our competitor's launching it, let's drop everything else and ship in July. Doesn't that fly in the face? And maybe some of you are smiling or laughing saying, yeah, that happens with my staff and my board, that we wait and wait and wait. And then with Johnny come lately. So it doesn't fly in the face of what I said early on, right? I mean, you have to get to market, and you have to go with what you have. And I used to consult with Gillette. They made decisions on three things. First, it was on research. Second, experience. Third, gut feel. My feeling is that gut feel should be 50%. If you feel it's right and you have a sense, and many of you on the call today have been with CMAA for many, many, many years, and you have a good gut sense, you have good instincts of what will work, what won't work, and you got to go for it. Like my wife will always say, you make a bad decision, whatever. I'm saying bad decision. You make a decision that doesn't work out well. It's not a life sentence. It really isn't. But if you don't, you'll be so pissed seeing a competitor do something you want to do, and they beat you to the punch a week in advance, and you'll be livid saying, we dropped the ball, we should have done it, and then they're enjoying the luxury of the success. So of all the hazards out there, it's a great one by Sam Snead. Somebody might have seen this quote before, fear is the worst. And I tell people all the time, on the other side of success is fear and failure. We can't live fear and failure, folks. We can't. If you live fear, you'll never get past the goalpost. You have to go for it and go for it and go for it. I'm not saying just roll the dice like a roulette wheel, but you have to calculate a risk. And that's what it's all about. And I mentioned earlier, fear is the worst, and so is failure. But you have to be inventive, and you have to you got to move. And my next slide says it all. When you have opportunities and you have the capability to move, you move. Period. I've seen so many clubs and so many companies I've dealt with the last 30 years have not moved. And the coulda, woulda, shouldas I've heard. We're a month too late. So-and-so did something we've been doing for years. We haven't talked about it. You got to move. You have to move, and especially in today's ever-changing, rapidly evolving, competitive landscape. You got to move now. You really have to. And you have to invent, and you got to create, and you got to embrace your people, your team. You have to instill in their minds it's time to move. Don't be shy. Don't be timid. Speak up, and let's get the job done. Okay. The fifth idea I want to share with you is don't be afraid of being hit by a pitch. And I always tell people, if you're batting 1,000, then you're losing. And when you're losing, that means you're complacent. I always tell people, what are you doing to ensure your brand is fresh and relevant? Many people say, oh, we can't do that. Or we did it before. Or it never worked out. Or we don't have the money. Or we don't have the budget. I know, on and on and on and on. I'm telling you, those people are naysayers. You want to get them out of your club. You don't want to talk to them. They're when one more person says to me, we tried it 5 years ago, it didn't work. It's like, move them somewhere else in the club, or lay them off, or whatever it might be. But you cannot grow a business by being naysayers and being afraid of being hit by a pitch. You just can't. You can't play it safe. Batting 1,000 is playing it safe. I mentioned earlier, if you don't change the game's going to change you. You can't bat 1,000 in today's day and age and live with what you've been doing for the last 10, 15 years and think you're going to grow and sustain your growth. It's not going to happen. So talk about, about success or failure. I want to read this thing from Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan said, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Do you think Michael Jordan worried about fear and failure? I mean, look at all the, if you want to call it failure, or the things he did not achieve in his life. And look what he's achieved, right? So in some industries, people are more, I'll say they're more go with the flow, status quo, but you just can't be. And again, this world is changing so much. And people, for example, are looking to maybe join a country club. They're looking at 3 or 4, and one club, they're just going to mostly connect and go, that's my club. That's where I want to be. And so I tell people all the time, you have to create a brand voice, but you have to take that risk. And many of you might have heard before about taking a risk, but I really bet a lot of your staff are timid, they're shy, they don't want to move the needle, they don't want to be called out, they don't want to recommend something that's not going to work, and they just kind of like smother themselves. Well, if they're smothering themselves, they're smothering your club. And today we're talking about external branding, but internal branding is your people, right? So we talk about internal branding. The next tip I want to talk about is you want to choreograph an exceptional member and guest experience. You got to ignite those around you in your club to love and respect your brand. The people who work for you have to live and breathe your brand like you do. And they have to know, how does their role contribute to the success of the club? How does their role align with your vision or the board's vision to ensure that everybody is rowing in the same direction? It just really, it's interesting that, you know, I mentioned earlier, anybody can do good or better, but, you know, what can you do to deliver the unexpected? That is such a powerful concept. But again, it's about a gesture, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, whatever. But you have to really, you know, make sure that people are indoctrinated to what your brand voice is, to what you expect from them, what members expect, and then most importantly, how their role, again, contributes to the experience that you want to deliver to your members. I want to show you something that's really interesting on delivering the experience, all right? And this is going to blow you away. Bain and Company, they did a survey with 300 CEOs of the Fortune 1000 companies. And out of 80% of these companies surveyed by Bain, but said that they deliver, without a doubt, an exceptional experience to their customers. When Bain then went to their customers and asked the customers about the experience, do you know what percent agreed with the executives and CEOs? When they asked about the same perceptions, only 8% agreed that they're receiving exceptional experience from their brand. And to me, 8% is like zero, isn't it? I mean, why is it such a dysfunction, a disconnect between what the customer perceives as as expectations about the brand experience and what the CEO and the C-suite thinks they're delivering? This is huge. And also, it's a fact. I read in the Harvard Business Review last week that the average CEO works between 65 and 70 hours a week, and they only spend 3% of their time with a customer. So how can you enhance and improve and change and create a customer experience if you don't know what the customer experience looks like and you don't know what the customer is feeling? Another take it one step further, FedEx, for example, only 1% increase in customer loyalty represents $100 million in revenue. That's huge. So you got to say to yourself, right? How do we stay closer? How do we deliver an experience so we know it? And I want to give you a couple examples, and these are the real examples. The last couple of years, I've gotten to know the CEO of Delta Airlines quite well. And Ed Bastian is the CEO of a $58 billion company. And we all know that right now they're tanking with COVID-19, and they're losing about 94% of their revenue, or 90% now, up to the last few months. But Ed Bastian, the CEO of Delta, when he travels 4 hours or less, do you know how he travels? He does not travel in a private jet. He does not travel first class. Ed Bastian, the CEO of Delta, travels in coach, travels in the back of the plane, sits in the middle seat. It's fact. He said to me when I interviewed him at the Harvard Club a year and a half ago, and then we did a virtual fireside chat back in July, his words are always, Larry, that's where the action is. How can I enhance my customer experience if I'm not living it? And Ed Bastian, the CEO of Delta, will go to the gate. He will sit there. He'll walk down the gangway. He'll walk through first class, right into the back, because that's where the action is. He says, you know, hey, without a doubt, Larry, I love my first class passengers, but what do I learn from a Wall Street Journal and a glass of wine? My customer really is in the coach, and I have to know what the coach is doing and how they're experiencing it. So that's one example, okay? I know a lot of you in hospitality, you probably know, I happen to know through my program at Harvard, Hervé Hamler, the CEO and the founder of the Ritz-Carlton hotel company, like 40 years ago. And probably a lot of you know, or heard of Ed Staros. And Ed, I guess, is the co-founder. And he, I guess, recently was a managing director of the Ritz-Carlton Naples Resort. And I have an email that he sent me. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to read just a little verbiage. He sent me a little while ago. And it's so true. Larry, I'm often asked about the longevity of Ritz-Carlton Naples. And my response is our resort will remain relevant as long as we engage every guest. And the only way to do that is to engage each and every employee first. I spend much of my day with our teams discussing every guest experience and interaction they've had. By encouraging their inventive ideas, we are able to continuously develop and motivate and enhance guest experience. The employees come first. The last paragraph, he says, there are days, in fact, when I never make it to the office because I go from employee to employee, from guest to guest, and those are by far my most favorite days in the job. Doesn't that say everything about, a general manager, a CEO, living and breathing what the customer, what the member wants? Otherwise, I always tell people, how can you be living in the ivory tower and creating strategies if you don't know what's going on at the ground level? So you really have to say to yourself, I'm sure many of you do, I'm sure, believe me, many of you do very well at this here, but I'm just here today to kind of reinforce the message that you have to spend as much time as you can with the customer. And you know more than I do, customer is finicky. Even me, we're finicky. It's a hard job in hospitality, working with consumers, especially in private clubs who demand, expect. And sadly, many times, I say humorously, nothing's ever right. I know my country club that I belong to, I'm, as you can tell, I'm from Boston, and I park my car in Harvard Yard, but I do a lot in Florida. And I have a lot of good friends in Florida and South Florida with general managers or in the golf industry. But, when I go to my country club, I drive up that driveway, I check out. I'm not there to worry about anything. I'm not there to argue with anybody. I'm not there to be serious. I just want to enjoy life. It's my second home. However, there are members I know. I'll give you an example. Last year before COVID, we had an Italian night. And the general manager called me in the next morning and said, Larry, I have to talk to you, Mr. Gulko. I was like, just call me Larry. And he says, 12 members are not very happy with our Italian night the other night. And I said, Steve, why is that? And he asked me two questions. Did you recall, did we not have enough greenery around the buffet tables with the food? And I said, honestly, I didn't even see greenery. I had drinks, I had my friends there, I had great food. I'm not looking at the greens, I'm not looking at the flowers, I'm not looking at anything. I'm enjoying my life. But as you know better than I do, there are members out there that had their radar screen on. They have their rangefinder, and they're trying to look at everything and go, gotcha. And it must drive you crazy, but some people don't know how to turn it off. And when they drive up that driveway, they're still, boom, 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 boom. To me, I drive up my drive in my country club, and I'm in a bubble. I'm away from reality. I'm enjoying life, But so it's so important to understand that. And when I used to consult with Disney, I want to show you the slide. This is a quote from the prior chairman of Disney, and it's word for word, and it really says it all. And basically, Disney says, what is a brand? A brand is a result of 1,000 small gestures. It is our job as marketers to make each of these gestures count. We do it by creating active brand experiences, using every encounter or interaction a customer has with our brand as an opportunity to show them why our brand is the best. You have the opportunity to fashion your organization or your club where everyone's involved, everyone's fully engaged, and everyone's a player. So I say to you all on the call today, if Disney can do this about gestures, and again, I mentioned early on, gestures has nothing to do with budget. If they can do this with 65,000 people in Orlando, you can do it with 100, 200, 400, 500 club employees. How many you have? You can do it at your club. And I also talk about like Ritz-Carlton for example, is a Ritz-Carlton room, is any room worth $1,000? Of course not. But the experience is worth it. Again, it's a want. We find the money. I was at Ritz-Carlton with my daughter in Puerto Rico a couple of years ago. I was giving a speech at the Puerto Rico Hotel and Tourism Association. And I was there for 4 days. I said, hey, one of my kids ought to come down here, enjoy the beach, right in the water. Come on down. My daughter came down, right? So she needs some hairspray. She forgot her hairspray. So I called the Ritz-Carlton at 7 in the morning, asked them what time does the salon open. Oh, no problem, Mr. Gulko. In 5 minutes, again, they delivered the unexpected. In 5 minutes, they brought me the hairspray. And then, you know, to me, it's a gesture. Again, I have nothing, I love it. I belong to Marriott and so on and so on. But at a Marriott or a Hyatt or a Hilton, wherever you also go, they will tell you, right? The salon opens at 10 o'clock. Come then. Ritz-Carlton goes, what do you want? You've got it. So again, if the experience in totality, like at the Ritz, if you want to get your ticket for flying home, if you go to a regular hotel, non-Ritz, a lot of them will say to you, go downstairs, your second right, past the gift store, past the men's room, go past the pool, jump over a bridge, and there's the business office. I'm being facetious, right? But they'll tell you how to go. At the Ritz, let me show you where it is. Again, it's a gesture. So how can you enhance the gestures at your club so people feel important and they live and breathe their club? And again, they want your club. They love being there. They're going to tell their friends to join your club. They're going to tell your friends to buy property there because they feel that they're living in a world unlike any other club, any other community that exists in Florida. So again, is a room worth $1,000? No room's worth $1,000. But is the experience worth $1,000 a day? That's up for you to make your decision. Either special occasion, it is. If you love it, you aspire to it, you'll find the money if you want it. But again, you know, it's a differentiator. It really is. And I'm sure many of you in hospitality, many of you probably maybe one time worked at Ritz-Carlton, so you know what I'm talking about. But I can't say it enough. It's all about gestures and nothing to do with budget. I'm talking today again about conceptually of how you take a fresh look at your brand, do a deep dive, have an immersive experience with your team members, your staff, your employees, your board, and take a really good collaborative experience and have a big idea think tank of what's our brand really known for and what we want to be famous for many years to come. Okay. Number 7, I say brand more today than ever before. Brand citizenship. You got to do good. What are you doing to give back to the community? Purpose-driven brands are winning the hearts and minds of the consumers. Now, some brands start out, I'll say, for example, like Warby Parker, Newman's Own, Tom's, Bombas. What can you do to have a meaningful conversation with your members and the public at large to show people that besides, you know, having a great brand, a great experience, we're giving back to initiatives that are near and dear to our heart. And those brands that are doing good are winning. And again, it cannot be camouflaged like it's a PR stint, like we're giving $5,000 to Boys and Girls Club. Anybody can write a check. It's not about writing checks. Again, people buy brands that have meaningful conversations with them and they can identify. So if you're doing something besides the story, so when someone comes to your club for a tour and they maybe play a round of golf and you take them through the tour of the clubhouse and everything else, and then it's only let you know, one thing also we're very proud of that we sponsor or we have an endeavor with the Children's Hospital in Miami or in Orlando, another organization, whatever. Again, in your portfolio of your brand message, everything in totality works to enforce that brand voice of what you have. And then that potential member, that potential owner of real estate is going to say, you know something, I can identify with that brand. I feel good about that brand. They're doing good. And that's important to me. The CEO of Merck Pharmaceuticals said to me several years ago, says, Larry, in the world of corporate world, purpose before profits. If you have no purpose, you will have no profits. And that just kind of aligns with the thinking we're doing today. And again, as far as doing good. So you want to keep company with other leading brands, create partnerships that are strategic and other philanthropic endeavors that are genuine and reflect meaningful conversations. I'm sure a lot of you are doing certain things with organizations philanthropically, but you can even do more. And again, your members will love you for it. The potential members will resonate with it. The media will write about it. But again, the key word is genuine, because you don't want to come across as a PR stint. You're doing it just for promotion. It's going to be short-lived, because that's not going to cut it at all. Okay. As we end right now, as I said earlier, write the book you want to read. envision the journey. What's your journey? And I say to you, what are you known for today? But if you want to embark on a new journey or modify your journey and enhance your brand image and reinvent or reposition your brand voice, what do you have to do? And then what can we do to win tomorrow? So what do we have to do to get from today to tomorrow? And really, it's not hard. It really isn't, as long as you're determined to take your brand to the next level. You have to be determined. And not just you personally, but you as a brand champion, your club, you have to instill that motivation, that ambition, that emotion with your people, so they sign up for what you envision. And then, everyone's marching to the same drum, or rowing in the same direction. Everyone's looking to the same end goal. And I want to last with one quote, which I love it from Richard Branson. If your dreams don't scare you, they are too small. And isn't that true? If they don't scare you, they're too small. That means you're not making any indent. That means you're not being disruptive. You're not being bold. You're not changing the game. You're not really taking your brand to the next level. You're really a Me Too brand. You're in the sea of sameness. You're a commodity. You're not a brand. And, eventually you're going to lose market share. I always tell people, if you don't capture mind share, you're not going to drive market share. But really, if your dreams are too small, then you're going to be eaten up alive. And you got to really, like Mark Cuban says, every minute of the day that you're not trying to build your brand and drive more revenue, your competitor is trying to eat your lunch every minute of the day when you're trying even harder. So I agree with Richard Branson. I met him several times. I was good fortune through Greg Norman a while ago, but it's amazing what he does. I mean, think of it also. I went out, as I was thinking right now, his company's called Virgin. And many years ago, people thought Virgin, he created, had to do with maybe a sexual connotation, which doesn't. But everything Richard Branson did or does, he enters virgin territory. Never been done before. What can you do in your virgin territory that you can take advantage of that no one else is doing? Maybe it's something to do with your range, maybe your driving range. At nighttime it's dark, right? Maybe you create like a little Top Golf area there. Maybe you put some lights here and you have a program, a family program, almost like a golf ski ball kind of program. What can you do to invent? What can you do, like Branson says, what can you do to enter virgin territory, okay, and really rise above the marketing clutter, break through the marketing noise, and be known for something special, and be a real name brand, not just a brand name. Okay, on that, my last slide is be a brand champion. Really, you have to build your brand, make it more appealing, make it more authentic, make it more personal, and above all, make it more powerful. And as I said earlier, the landscape today is so much more competitive. The media options we have today are so much more varied, and we have more touch points, and we have to work that much harder to make sure that we really are enhancing our brand equity. We're building a reputational capital. We're communicating a very compelling message about our brand, unlike any other club brand in the market. And also make it that we are emotionally connecting with these folks, not just rationally. Anybody can put a brochure together. Anybody can show couples playing tennis. Anybody can show couples playing golf. Been there, done that. I'm gonna say again, it's a yawner, right? But what are you doing that keeps your brand fresh and relevant, so you're the brand of choice when someone's considering where they want to buy, where they want to live, where they want to join? Okay. Before we end here right now, I mentioned to Beth, and she wanted me to share with you, really, whether I do keynote speeches for CMAA or my Speakers Bureau or my one-day marketing retreats, whatever, or I have a podcast in Boston, CBS, where I've had Pete Bavacqua, who, as you know, was formerly the CEO of PGA of America. Now he's chairman of NBC Sports. I've had Greg Norman, so forth. That basically, anybody that does what I do as a strategist or growth advisor, I'm an educator. It's just different mediums. So what am I? I'm selling education, and under my brand umbrella, my personal brand, there's different things I do it with. So I'm making an offer. Maybe offer is a bad word. I'm extending a personal gesture or courtesy. Anybody on this call today, I'm very serious. If you want to talk with me after we're over today. Make a time to talk to me on the phone, gratis. There's no obligation. There's no agenda. If you want to chat with me for about an hour about some of the challenges you're having, that you want to just bounce some ideas off me and see what I think, if I can add value, if I can give you 1 or 2 tips or insight that's going to make a difference, I'd be delighted to. So really, don't be bashful. Reach out to me. My email is larry@larrygulko.com. And again, there is no agenda. It's a 1-hour call, whatever it might be. I don't care how long it lasts. But if I can help you, help your brand, and help you drive more success, I'm here for you. So please, don't feel don't be bashful about it. Reach out to me, and really, I'd be delighted to make a time next 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it is, and chat about it, and just share with me some of your challenges, some of the opportunities, some of the trends in the industry that you're looking at. Some could be threats, some could be opportunities. So any way I can help you, really, I'm here for you. So please reach out to me, and I'd be delighted to chat with you in a very casual way, okay? So that wraps up our first hour. And Beth, I'm happy we stayed 1 hour exactly, so we did good. And now I'll shut down my sharing. And what I want to do now is I want to have a dialogue, and I want to have an open conversation with any things that are on your minds. Either ask me questions, or maybe other peers can chime in. Your other like-minded GMs and other club leaders, and let's have a good conversation. Okay, Beth? So I'll stop sharing. Great, there we are. Perfect. Can everybody hear each other?
Suggestion to everybody, you may want to, on your top right-hand corner, hit the word view and hit speaker view, and the person who's speaking at the time will come up in a large frame on your screen, which will be Larry as he gives us this portion of the presentation.
Michael Gibson, how are you? Hi, Mike. I'm Boston. I have a home in Cape Cod. Mike's from Martha's Vineyard. It's good. Like Robert De Niro would say, I look forward to seeing you. So why don't we start now with some Q&A as far as some things in your mind, is things you want me to elaborate more on, or some things that have been on your mind. I'd love to chat with you, and anything that's top of mind with you as far as, building the brand. Who wants to be the first?
Questions? This is your time with the expert. Ask your questions. Larry, we have a question here that says, should we survey 1,400 members to select the charity to give to?
Yeah, what I would do is make it open-ended, because you want your members to have ownership and feel good about it. I would do 2 things. Number 1, I would survey them, but 2 ways. I would say to them, we are considering, we're exploring being engaged with certain philanthropic endeavors that are near and dear to us, okay? Some of the ones we're considering are, and then I list 4 or 5 of them, that are near and dear to the board or the staff, whatever. And then say, plus, are there, please share with us. And the words are important. Please share with us what endeavors or what community involvements, whatever, are important to you that you would like for us to support. I'll give you an example. I know the owner, he just sold the company, but the Legal Seafoods in Boston. He has 35 restaurants, and they're at the airports. And Roger always says to me, Larry, I'd rather support people, even financially, give everybody $1,000 and say to somebody, well, no, we're all through for the year. We've done our allocation of budgeting. And so, it's not really the amount of money. I'll give you an example, Delta Airlines. And really, I'm not here to sell Delta. I just am so impressed what they're doing as an only during the pandemic. Delta Airlines in November, 500 executives went outside and slept with the homeless for a night. Even Ed Bastian, the CEO, went in Atlanta and slept in the sidewalk with a homeless person and brought him food and shelter. Okay, because the homeless is one of their endeavors that is part of the DNA. How about homeless people? And so I would just say, you might have 10 different opportunities, but different magnitude. But the answer is I would definitely survey, but I'd recommend to them, here are 4 or 5 we're thinking of, and which other organizations or philanthropic endeavors do you feel we should consider that are near and dear to you? Because it's all about making sure your members feel good about what they do. You want to make sure that the members feel good about what their club is doing for them. That's why they join your club, and they want to feel proud of what they're doing. So the more you can engage them and have some ownership and suggestion and partake, and then even after it's done, let's say you decide we made an announcement, we're going to support 10 initiatives. We're also looking now for volunteers who might want to sleep with the homeless, or volunteer at the food pantry, or volunteer on Tuesdays, visit children at Children's Hospital. Then besides the members suggesting different ideas, they're going to physically volunteer and enjoy immensely the opportunity of giving back. It's a priceless feeling of giving back to a community, or let's say going to a children's hospital and singing and talking to children who are bedridden. It's amazing. So you have 2 ways of really emotionally connecting. 1, creating ideas from them, and 2, after you decide which ones, go back to them and saying, who would like to help us and spend maybe 1 day a month, whatever it might be, and really get involved. So it's a really, again, as a good brand citizen, you're doing good, they're doing good, the brand's doing good. And again, that word will spread with the media. And it's a nice story to tell, again, potential members, here's what we do twice a year. And again, I mentioned earlier, people want to buy brands or join brands that emotionally connect with them and have meaningful conversations that are near and dear to their heart.
Anybody else have any questions or suggestions or thoughts?
Anything, really. Throw them at me, please. We have time.
I'm not seeing anything coming in, Larry, which
Yes. Joseph?
I'm not seeing any questions.
No. Joseph just raised his hand, I believe.
Go ahead, Joseph. You can unmute your microphone and go right ahead.
Michael, do you have any questions? Michael, I love your GQ look.
Larry, when I get to have you on a weekly basis on our weekly call, I use up all my questions then.
I love you, my friend.
I will tell you this, guys, when Larry says reach out, he definitely means it. I have a grandson who is health challenged and is 2 years old now, and we weren't able to get the right help for this young kid. And we went to numerous hospitals. It was something that he was born with. And in ongoing conversations with Larry, the very first conversation, he was kind enough to hook us up with the Boston's Children's Hospital. And honestly, from then onwards, our situation with our grandchild has completely turned the corner. So I'm forever in Larry's debt, but that has led to a very strong friendship and regular weekly calls. So when he says reach out, he certainly means it, and a wealth of information. So thank you, Larry.
And talk about brand purpose. I mean, really, thank you, Michael. I mean, talk about the heart. I mean, the true story. I never met Michael's family except his wife, except for Dale. And when we met at Boston Children's Hospital for the first time, me and Matt and Caitlin, his wife, we hugged each other in tears. And when I saw that his grandson was eating birthday cake frosting for the first time on Facebook, there's no greater feeling than to enrich someone's life. And so I'm saying, like, about being a good brand citizen, the things that your clubs can be doing to enriching people's lives is a good thing. It's a feel-good thing. And again, it shows your members that this type of initiative, this type of effort, a brand activation item, is important to you. And they even feel more prouder. When I used to consult with Disney didn't care if you're satisfied or not. I'm just saying very loosely. Disney cared about your loyalty. Okay. And the more you do things like being a good brand citizen, you build more loyalty. You also build what I call legions of raving fans, ambassadors, meaning your members, who are the best recruiters of new members for your club. Anybody else?
I'll
Yes.
chime in with a quick question here.
Joseph? Yeah.
If Joe doesn't have a question.
Doug Brown, go ahead.
Yeah, so what would you say the biggest hurdle is to communicating your brand and what you're looking to deliver to your members, building buy-in at the bottom of your organization, and kind of reframing maybe what the lowest in your organization do is you're not just working for the rich guy. This is the experience you're delivering. What's the biggest hurdle to building that buy-in at the bottom?
The biggest hurdle is really treating that person who's a concierge as the same way you treat your vice president of your club. That everybody, for example, I'm just saying, let's say hypothetically you have 500 employees. Everybody then is 1/500th of your brand image and your brand voice, Doug. Everybody. And that person, the concierge, who's popping a trunk open to put food in the trunk during COVID, has to be as important and has to feel as embraced to the organization as the VP of merchandising. And many times, I'm not saying here on the screen here on the call, many times companies treat like a call center. Oh, they're the call center, they're hourly employees. And I say to myself, are you kidding me? When someone calls up to buy a product, they're your brand. That receptionist is your brand. And if that receptionist answers the phone in a very snotty way, that club's like arrogant. I wouldn't want to join there. That first point of contact. So it's important that you embrace everybody with no titles at all. I'll give you an example. I remember I did my one-day retreat for the PGA of America, the PGA, the Learning Center, the resort in Port St. Lucie, when Bob Aldessari was the general manager. And Bob had a meeting with 300 employees, and he had his suit on. And I just thought of this, Doug. And he's talking about the ideas and the goals. And I think he worked for Dean Beeman years ago. And all of a sudden, Bob ripped open his sport coat and his shirt. All the buttons flew, and he had a T-shirt on, and it said something like "One goal, one family." And he says, "Forget about my title. I'm not more important than anybody else here in this room. We're all here together to make it happen." But he took off his whole sport coat, his whole shirt, and he had the same attire, the same T-shirt as every member there, whether you were a person working the range or you were the chef or the director of food and beverage, it didn't matter. He wanted to show we're all in the same family. So Doug, I think the most important thing is to make sure that people feel they're treated as equal. You welcome their opinions as equal. They're not being shed because of their pay grade. And most importantly, they're included in all your communications. I really believe you cannot over communicate. We're so busy today, especially with COVID-19. The communication is key. And also, like I mentioned about Ed Bastian at Delta Airlines, he goes into the airport before the flight. He goes down outside. He talks to the baggage handlers, people putting the baggage on that little conveyor belt in the plane, and talks to them about how they're doing. He's not doing just to make them happy. He wants to know. So I think it's up to you as general managers and club leaders to really interact with everybody in the club, regardless of their title. Some of you have done this for many, many years, and you know this, but sometimes we forget. But that person outside the concierge is just as meaningful to contribute to the success of the organization and make that member happy with a thumbs up as the VP of merchandising, the food and beverage, or the person in the grill room that makes your Reuben perfect, whatever it might be. They're all important because they're all touch points in your club. So I would say you have to just really embrace them, engage them, involve them, and make them feel genuinely, not PR, not as a stint, genuinely important to your organization. And you will see they will deliver a remarkable member experience, and you will see your attrition go down instead of going up as far as employee loyalty. And again, I said earlier, nothing to do with budget, right? Has to do with your culture, your DNA, and you being brand champions and reflecting and communicating what's important to you. So everybody lives and breathes the experience, lives and breathes your brand as the same way you do. Does that kind of address it, Doug?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything to ask? Okay,
You know,
Larry,
something also I want to share is,
we'll have to conclude on and.
I'm sorry, Beth.
Let them get back to their day.
Yeah, one last thing I want to share. You know, I did a program a while ago, my one-day retreat, and it's for 20 people, not 30, it's 20. I want people to talk. And it was amazing that there were different slices. I'll example, when I did the program, one-day program with St. Andrews, we had the director of spa, only there 2 months. We had the director of golf, Paul Clivio, they had 25 years. We had people from all walks of life in the club, and even diversity and how long they've been there. And it was really great. So, and question that Doug had, whether it's my retreat or you do it yourself, invite a diverse group of your population from either different parts, different slices of your club, and also how long they've been there. Not everybody been there 25 years. People have just been there for a month. Because again, they're gonna have a reaction saying, wow, I was invited, they want to hear from me. So try to have this, maybe you do it monthly, whatever, or you go like Ed Besson does, you gotta go out there and talk to people on the range, in the grill rooms, everywhere, because everybody has as a commodity. You all have a golf course and a grill room and a nine and dine and a locker room and a ladies' night. You all have the same thing, but there's something else special there that you got to then say to yourself, what are we doing that's going to be special? And again, we're going to create a brand voice that's going to resonate, and we can really differentiate amongst our market sector geographically and even the kind of club that we are.
I have a question here. Thank you for that. I have a question here. What are some compelling brand differentiators that you have seen in the club space?
Okay. A brand differentiator. Okay, up in Boston, there's a club called Thorny Lee, and they promote the fact that we have the lowest handicap golfers who belong, and a lot of their golfers are work at Titleist, a Cushnet, whatever. And however, so if you don't feel comfortable being with a scratch golfer, a 5 handicap, you're not joining that club. Some clubs say specifically we're a golf club. We're not. You're not going to come here. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, and again, I play golf there at Old Palm. No, and I never lived there, but Old Palm to me is not a place that you're going to join to do all these events, schmooze, camaraderie, meet people. People at Old Palm. Again, just my perception. They play golf. They go back to home. They have dinner, but they want their privacy. So when they're slammed, maybe it's 5 or 6 foursomes versus like maybe an Ocean Reef or a Boca West. When they're slammed, you might see 1,000 foursomes, whatever. So I think it's important to say to yourself, what do we want to be known for? And I know those. I remember when I was doing the program with St. Andrews. There's a club called Woodcliff. Is that a Woodcliff? I think it's called. And people tell me in the room, Woodcliff, they're known. If you want to go there and there's families there, if you want to be in a club that's so family oriented, that's your club. And some clubs saying, we're not catering to school age kids. So you got to say to yourself, what are we right now? What are you frustrated about that people don't know under the hood? Because again, you don't want to be a hidden gem or well-kept secret, but what are you doing that maybe people don't know about that you're proud of? But instead of changing your brand, you used to have to make sure more people know about what you're doing. But every club has to find for themselves, what are we known for? The club I belong to is a very social club. And ironically, recently, a lot more millennials are joining. I'm one of the older fogies there, right? And but I give them credit because they're involved in the 3-day member. I mean, they're playing 36 holes in one day. I mean, they're doing things I'd be exhausted to do myself, but it's great to have the energy. But every club has its own like persona. Like like Michael, when you were at the Congressional is different from Ocean Reef, and different from Boca West, and different from Jupiter Hills, and so on. And every club has to have their own persona, their own niche, their own brand voice, I call it. And they're all different, but you just have to figure out either what are we today, we don't want to be that, and how do we reposition ourselves to be known for what we want to position. It might take a few years, but it's where we want to be. And we don't want to be in the sea of sameness. We don't want 5 people to come by, take a tour of our club, and go, okay, we're saying no to you because they're lower price. But let me ask you guys this question here. I'm really curious. Everyone takes tours of your clubs, right? And you know what you talk about that wows them, right? I'm just curious if you could just yell it out. What are some of the reasons you tell your story I'm sure it's very compelling. You know, you walk the club, you meet people, they're hi, nice to meet you, and it's not programmed, and people feel comfortable. What's the reason most general managers of clubs hear the word no? I call it negative problem tracking. So I always want to know why people buy, but more importantly, I want to know why you hear the word no. So can you tell me here, and just as we wrap up, what are some of the reasons why people will hear your story? Sounds great. You've answered every one of the questions. They love it. They have 4 friends that belong. And they say, you know, we're going to go, thank you, but we're going to join XYZ club. Why do you hear the word no in general? It's a general question, but I'm just curious. Anybody want to just share with me why they hear the word no more than the word yes? No, I'm sorry, not more than the yes, but why the word no comes up when you've exhausted and told yourself the whole story and sounds like it's wonderful. I can't believe they're not going to join the club. What's the reason for that no? Anybody? Anybody want to share with me, not about their club, but in general, why a potential member would pass and say no?
I think, Larry, sometimes the answer to that question is that we weren't focused on what they wanted to hear and what they wanted to know about the club. Not, talking all about golf. And they're really tennis players, so we never talked about tennis. All we talked about was golf. And they didn't feel themselves fitting in because you never talked about tennis, and that you do have, all these different groups that play, and, that your play tournament and tournament tennis with the other clubs, but you didn't know what they were looking for, so you didn't focus on it.
So basically what it comes down to, it's just like, for example, when people come to your club, they have certain expectations and you don't know what they are. Like you said, Beth, if you don't know who are tennis, I mean, you can't be a psychic, right? But it's all about expectations, and everyone has different expectations. Some people join a club, if they want golf all the time, and some just want to be a social member and just meet people. And some people, I found out recently, I was shocked, but I think it was Balnaus, whatever, that people just join there and not only enjoy social, they just want to live in a community that's gated, that has security. They're not interested in golf or tennis or social. They just want to be in a gated community. And that's fine too, right?
Some of the things down here in chat, Larry, are that they don't see themselves fitting in. Your fees are too high, which is something that we all have to deal with at times, and cannot find the housing, want higher status, didn't find the value. Were some other reasons for not purchasing.
Right. And again, the word value is subjective. What I look at value, and when someone else looks at value, someone could say, well, gee, I'm not going to pay $140,000 to join a club. It's crazy. And somebody else might say, something makes a lot of money, but it's worth the value for my wife, the socialization, to meet people, whatever. It's priceless. And again, everybody's mindset's different. It's very subjective. There's no right or wrong. So, you have to try to, excuse the pun, but you have to try to figure out what's the sweet spot to that member. And maybe, Michael, when you went Ocean Reef, maybe the sweet spot besides the privacy, a lot of folks here have, belong to the private jets, and having that airstrip, that was worth it all, because they want to have the privacy. And other people, it's not that important, so, but you're right. I mean, every person, and you don't know, because we're not psychics, but the more we can hopefully delve and have them talk to us and be better listeners and try to then hear something that maybe even shift our sales storytelling to something that's more meaningful, can really maybe get them over the goalpost to join. But until we really objectively just hear them and listen a lot, we really don't know what they're looking for, or we don't know if they're being really truthful if they don't want to even share with us because they're looking at 3 or 4 clubs. What do you find right now with COVID-19? And I know in general, it's been hard in general, the food and beverage, everything else, and the community and social events. But are there certain things that you find with COVID-19 that have been very challenging that right now you're feeling with vaccinations, that you see the light in the tunnel, and you see you are getting back some sense of normalcy, not total normalcy, but at least you have a good comfort level. The next 3 or 4 months, things are going to be much better, and you're going, whew, I'm glad this thing is over with. Anybody?
We have one, less members are frantic trying to find vaccines. So.
I'm sorry, say it again, Beth. I'm sorry, what was that?
Less members are frantic about trying to find the vaccines. So more people are getting their vaccines. So they're starting to be a little calmer about things.
Right, right. Cool. No, and hopefully, I mean, like, I plan, I mean, I've been coming to Florida for the last 30 years, and the last 10 years I've been staying in Singer Island. And my wife just told me this morning that she wants, and now we're thinking of buying a place down in Florida in one of the clubs. And but I have a home in Falmouth that I'm selling maybe this summer, and we're just upgrading a little bit, but I can't sell both homes at one time. And so we might even think of maybe just renting, 3 or 4 months, because I really miss, this year has been really different, and I miss seeing people like, my friend Mike Lemus and Matt Lindeman and Matt Lambert and everybody. I have a lot of friends who are leaders in the country clubs, and this year's been really different. So I miss them personally, and just having coffee and breakfast, and seeing Joe Steranker and a lot of people like that. It's been a high year. It's the first time we've even been down there, but I've been making some phone calls yesterday, and right now it's only in some clubs there's only 2 or 3 available for next year, and some of the prices are like, with this COVID-19, are through the roof. But we will be down there next December through like March, definitely. And I don't care if I got to live out of a Winnebago. I will be down in Florida next season, because I miss seeing my friends. I miss being in the warm weather. I miss playing golf, and I just miss being there, And by the way, I did go to the University of Miami in Coral Gables many years ago. So the East Coast of Florida has always been my beat, and from Coral Gables up to Jupiter has always been my sweet spot. But we've always stayed either in Boca, or last 10 years we stay in Palm Beach Gardens. We love Palm Beach Gardens, the Jupiter area. That's kind of our comfort level. A lot of our friends live around the area, and so to me, it's like home away from home. And this year we didn't enjoy home away from home, and it was very tough being up in Boston, where all we could do is go to CVS and the supermarket and not walk outside. So I envy all of you who are ever able to go outside, actually walk outside and be outside in the nice weather, instead of being at Q4 in Boston, dark, cold, just living in a luxury jail. That's what it was like. It's like living in a luxury jail. It really was very disenchanting this winter, and I don't want that to ever happen again. I got to get down there.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Larry. We look forward to having you in Florida. I think there's no more questions or comments at this point. So I think we'll go ahead and thank you for your time. If you all would like to call and reach out to Larry by the end of the week, the video of this session will be out along with Larry's contact information. Encourage you to reach out to him and have a private conversation, if you will. I have put the password in the chat a couple of times. It is the word brand with a capital B. You have until 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to go to the link that I shared, or you can also find that link on the website under education, and then go to education credits underneath the drop down for education. So we thank you for being here today. Thank you, Larry, for being such a great friend to the chapter, and so many people on the call today. And we wish you all a great rest of the week. And we look forward to seeing you personally here very soon. So look for some possible news on that. So everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Stay well.
Thank you again.